Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Blerdbinder. My name is Noah Washington, and today with us we have a very special guest, Mr. Sam Richardson. Sam Richardson is an actor, producer, comedian, and writer who has appeared in numerous productions such as Veep, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, Bojack Horseman, and so many more. Sam is the creator and star of the Comedy Central TV series Detroiter, set in his hometown of Detroit, Michigan. Sam, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Noah. How are you?
For doing fantastic. So let's just get right into it now. So one of your more iconic roles is the role of Richard in the HBO series Veep, one of my personal favorites. I absolutely love it. Between seasons 4 and 5, there was a creative turnover. Mr. Iannucci turned it over to a new showrunner. Many fans of the show said that the tone kind of changed. Did you think, for better or the worse, the show got better for its original fans?
Well, that's a difficult. I mean, it's an interesting question because there was a tonal shift because it's
Well,
going
that's
to be
a
an episode
difficult. I mean, it's an interesting
because
question because
there
there was a tonal
uh,
shift because it's going to
is
be.
a different like vision, which is going to be like filtered through the showrunner. Um, but for me personally, it was great because it really helped Richard grow a lot because Dave Mandel was like a big fan of Richard, and Armando was fan. It was why I was on the show. Armando hired me to the show, but Dave like sort of like it changed from a an American perspective, or it changed from a, a UK perspective interpreting an American position to an American comedy show written by Americans, if that makes any sense. Oh, you're muted. Oh, no, you're muted.
Seasons, I loved Richard. Oh, sorry, I was muted for a minute.
Yeah.
I loved all Oh, thank you, thank you. I loved all 7 seasons of the show. Absolutely great. I'm a huge fan of Richard, and I loved absolutely all of it. Getting more into it though, Veep. So the final few seasons of Veep took place at a time when American politics was just going haywire, out of this world. We lived in a world of Trumpism, absolutely crazy. Do you think the tonal shift of the show also was made to match the changing paradigms in American politics?
I don't believe that. I don't think the show was ever sort of wagging the dog. I think the tonal shift kind of just happened as a result of like what was, our well, first tonal shift happened because of a different creative team, so not all the same team was there between the two, but also the interpretation of like current events. It wasn't the show was never about aping what was happening in politics. It was always what if and what could be, and sort of as the what ifs of politics sort of became a little bit more ridiculous, or at least more obviously ridiculous, so did the sort of like the show had to like sort of change its energy a little bit to seem, because like when reality is stranger than fiction, you have to then make fiction sort of, yeah, you have to then kick it up a little bit. So I think that's kind of what happened there.
Wow, that's just, well, shifting gears a little more to your own child, Detroiters, one of my absolute. I love everything sat around ad agencies, Mad Men, Crazy Ones, Detroiters. I love it all personally. What was it like returning to your hometown and kind of seeing it through your perspective, almost adapting the town to your artistic vision?
Well, it was incredible to get to go home and do, like, Tim Robinson, who I co-created the show with and co-starred in the show with. It was myself, Tim Robinson, Zach Cannon, and Joe Kelly. We all created the show together. But Tim and I, came up through Detroit comedy, and the whole time, like we knew that we couldn't, continue our careers there because like there was so much more that we wanted to do that just didn't exist in that city and that sort of ecosystem for the arts. But the whole time, when we were living in Chicago, performing at Second City, when we'd come to LA and New York, respectively, we were always just would say, "Oh, when we're going back to Detroit. We're going to bring something. We want to come back to Detroit with something. We want to do something." And so when we had the opportunity to pitch this show, the whole idea was like, all right, well, it's about Tim and Sam being best friends, and also it's just about the city of Detroit. So it's really about these three entities, and so getting to make that show, then coming home to Detroit to make that show was incredible. And also sort of within the show, the city itself is multifaceted in a way that I think is unfairly portrayed, because I think the city itself is only ever used as a punchline for what is the lowest anything can get. And then that ignores the people, that ignores why it got to be in such dire straits, and that ignores the sort of hope and the indomitable will that the Detroit people have. Anybody from Detroit will always rep Detroit super hard. You'll never hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm from Detroit." No, it's always, "I'm from Detroit." So we're the same way. So coming to the city to make this show, it wasn't about making up some sort of weird Detroit. Of course, it's through this rose-colored glasses and this lens of super positivity, but that exists there. I always say, you see a show on TV like Detroit 187 or whatever. It's like, oh my God, everybody in Detroit is a crack dealer and a gun runner and a gang member. It's like, but my mom lives in Detroit. My mom is not any of those things. You know what I mean? My family is there. Ooh, I live there. I'm not any of those things. So I thought we needed to have a depiction of Detroit that was positive. Why can't Detroit be a happy place for people? People have families and lives and love and live and are parties and all these things. So I think it was just a pain in me to watch Detroit portray like that nonstop. Of course, it comes with a rep, which is great. I'm from Detroit. Great that you know what I mean. It's respect, but also respect it as an actual place.
Well, that is so crazy. I had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Diallo Riddle about a year ago, and that answer which you just gave about the city of Detroit was the exact same answer he gave about Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
It perfectly segues into my next question. So we live in the age of streaming. And so do you think, unfortunately, we only got so many episodes with Detroiters. Do you think we could see a return of the show, or is it more difficult now that shows like Southside and Atlanta exist?
Well, I think Southside and Atlanta are two completely different shows, and Detroiters is three different, completely different shows. I think it helps the audience it helps a larger audience sort of accept these things and all right, so these city-centric comedy shows can exist, and they're individual to each other because each place has its own personality. Atlanta is a completely different show than Detroiters was. It's a completely different show than Southside was. I don't think that would be a reason I don't think that would be a difficulty for bringing Detroiters back. I would love to bring Detroiters back. I think right now it's a matter of, if somebody would bring Detroiters back, if we would have the time to do Detroiters, because I'm on a lot of other projects and Tim is on a lot of other projects. Joe Kelly is a head writer, or he's a writer on Ted Lasso. Zach and Tim have I Think You Should Leave and a few other things. So if somebody were to make this were to say let's make the show, we would find a way, we would do it, and we would love it because there's so much more to that show and that story that we wanted to tell, and we were just learning how to make that show because we were trying to make it as unique as possible, but also true to us, true to ourselves, and sort of. I don't want to be a sort of a I don't want to pat myself on the back or whatever, but we were trying to do new things with narrative and comedy. And it's impossible to do something completely new because everything is derivative of something else. But we were trying to break that mold for ourselves and for what we thought a good comedy show would be. So I think there as we grow as artists and comedians and writers and actors, so would that show. So if there's a chance to do it, I certainly hope we get the opportunity to do that.
That's an absolutely beautiful. Hopefully we do get to see Detroiters again, but I want to go a little bit earlier into your career. Two of your at least on Wikipedia, two of your first credits were The Office and Arrested Development, huge shows that already had such a dedicated following. Was it intimidating, stepping into those roles into a fan base that was so dedicated?
Certainly. And I was very lucky that those were like two of my first credits, like huge comedies that I was a huge fan of before, like Arrested Development, one of my favorite shows of all time. The Office, the UK Office and the American Office, one of the best comedies in history, So coming in, as those being my first sort of like on professional TV set credits and like working experiences was incredibly intimidating, but also I learned so much from them. Just like set etiquette, sort of how to manage your time, how to manage takes, all those sort of things. Like I learned directly from Jason Bateman on Arrested Development, that's my first time meeting him. But then we've gone on to like work on other things. Like we did Office Christmas Party together, and like now he's my friend. But like that sort of experience, I was like very much trying to like be in like trying to be professional, but also in awe, and like sort of like learning to like shake that so that you are there to do the job and you're not there as a fan. So I'm like, I think I sort of started to learn that. And then for The Office, I learned sort of well, my role in The Office was supposed to be something bigger than it was, but it was the last season of The Office, and you're not going to just introduce a brand new character and like give him this huge arc. So like sort of what I was doing there kind of got folded into Craig Robinson, and that was great. And it makes more sense because I mean, if I was on a show for 9 seasons and they're like, let's add this new character, no, you have all your puzzle pieces here, use them. So it kind of went from being like this. I mean, for me, it was like, oh, this is a great role opportunity, and it kind of went from that to being like a sort of like background, like featured background extra sort of thing on that show. But it was really a learning experience, like learning how a set worked and like learning how scripts change and arcs change and like how setups work, how they're shooting this way and a 2-shot here, and we're turning around on this side. We're catching everything in the background. So if you're in the background, you're playing in the scene, but you're not in the scene. It was a really incredible experience. And plus I was unemployed. It was a job. So best of both worlds.
That's it's so good to hear that, even though that was kind of a bummer that it wasn't as big as it could have been, that it turned into led to this great career that you currently have.
And let me say this too. I don't mean to say it was a bummer because it was my only experience. So I had no, you know what I mean? Like if you are, I'm trying to think of a terrible reference. If you go from 0 to, if you want to go from a 0 to 100 and you only go from 0 to 60, you're still 60 more than you were before. So that's where I was very fortunate and very happy, and like I certainly learned a lot. But so it wasn't a bummer, but it was definitely like, and I probably wouldn't have been ready also if it was going to be bigger than that, So I think it helped me to coast into sort of where I am now. And both those shows are from a casting director named Allison Jones, who took a liking to me and an interest in me very early in my career, having watched me at Second City in Chicago. And when I came out to LA, she was like, I'm going to get you working. So then she got me on that. She got me on Arrested Development. Then she got me on The Office. And then she got me on Veep. So like that's, with those steps, maybe if The Office had gone bigger or whatever, I wouldn't have been in the right place to do Veep, and then that, the timeline changes, and now I'm in a multiverse of myself where, I'm not where I am right now.
It's so funny that you say multiverse of yourself, because that's a perfect segue for my next question. I just want to say congratulations on the TV show Modoc. Absolutely hilarious. But the question is, we live in a age of superhero television, right? You can't go anywhere without seeing something related to it. Have you personally been approached for anything in a live action position, if you are even interested to begin with?
Well, I'm incredibly interested. I've not been approached for. I've been approached for like sort of like side character-y things, and it's something because I have such a love of it. I really don't want to burn myself out in that world. So and then that's not to say that they'll ever approach me for something great, but I'd rather. I would love to do. I would love to do anything in that world, and it'd be a DC, Marvel, or variant or whatever it is. But they haven't reached to me to play Mr. Fantastic or anything yet.
Wow. You mentioned variant comics. Man, that is the sign of a fan. So, as we are approaching the end of our time together, let me ask you, what advice would you have for others seeking to be in the entertainment industry? And even if you want to, what made you want to be a part of it?
Well, maybe a few pieces of advice. One, it would be to seek out as much as you can, like read, watch movies, watch TV shows, even things that you agree with, things that you don't agree with, things that are your favorites, things that you don't love. Like if you're not into noir films, watch some noir films anyway, so you know what that is and what exists out there. And just always remember you are the CEO of your company. So you know what I mean? So like every decision about you comes from you. Even when something happens that you don't see is the next step for you, but is in front of you, absorb that opportunity, see what you can take from it, see what you need to ignore from it in order to be who you want to be. And sort of just know your worth. That's my catchphrase always, know your worth. I don't know that is proper advice.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. We really appreciate you coming here and joining us on the Blerdbinder. We hope that you're willing to come back anytime soon, and we're absolutely in love with what you're doing. Any projects we should be aware of?
Tomorrow War is out on Amazon Prime. Werewolves Within, available on VOD. Both really cool movies. Give Werewolves Within a try, but that one would need your help more than Tomorrow War, but both are great.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Richardson. We appreciate you having come in for us today. Thank you all to our viewers for watching us at the Blerdbinder, and we will be coming to you with more excellent stuff, excellent interviews like Mr. Richardson here, and we will catch you all later.
Thanks, Noah.